Madam President. Has the last astronaut been hired by NASA, or is he yet to be born? On 21 July at 05:56 Eastern Daylight Time, the last manned U.S. spacecraft will return to Earth. There is currently no viable alternative spacecraft, no program in place to return Americans back to space in a U.S. spacecraft. The International Space Station will be supplied by Russian and Japanese spacecraft, along with new crew members. The foreseeable future will not have a manned U.S. spacecraft until either NASA or the private industry develops one. Not since the beginning of the U.S. space program have we not had a manned spacecraft or a program in place to build one. So to answer my initial premise, we must consider three things. What was the goal and the intent of the manned space program? Why go to the moon or Mars anyway? And what about this privatization of manned spaceflight? In 1957, the former Soviet Union launched the first artificial satellite, Sputnik. It was the size of a beach ball and weighed 184 pounds. The U.S. responded by launching Explorer 1, which weighed in at 30 pounds. In April of 1961, Yuri Gagarin orbited the Earth, the first human to do so. The United States responded in May of 1961 with Alan Shepard flying a ballistic flight that did not completely orbit the Earth. Not until February of 1962 would John Glenn orbit the Earth as the first American. And this was after John F. Kennedy's famous speech to Congress. And in his speech, John F. Kennedy said, and I quote, "These are extraordinary times, and we face an extraordinary challenge. Our strength, as well as our convictions, impose upon this nation the role of leader in freedom's cause. No role in history could be more difficult or important. We stand for freedom. I believe we possess all the resources and talents necessary, but the facts of the matter are, we have never made the national decision or marshaled our resources required for such leadership." And in his famous line, "First, I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important than the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish." Why did we go to the moon? To establish the greatness of the United States. But why go to the moon or Mars for all that matter? Questions we've pondered since we first did it. Some of the simple answers: because it's there. To see what is there. Or to answer the question, are we alone in the universe? As seen from Kennedy's speech, the quest for the moon was about proving American dominance in science and technology and rocketry. And rocketry was equated at that time in our history with warfare. These were national goals funded by the government to achieve global political objectives. The race to space was not a jobs program. It was not designed to foster spin-off technology. And it was clearly not designed to increase the demand for college students in engineering. Yet each of those things was a secondary benefit of the nationalistic goal designed to prove the greatness of the United States. So the question becomes, do the secondary benefits of spaceflight justify its expense? It is a $7 billion program. So to go back to James Van Allen, the discoverer of the magnetic fields that bear his name, and one of the lead scientists on Explorer 1, he presented 5 arguments that are advanced in the discussion about the utility of space. These arguments, in roughly ascending order, advocate support as follows. 1. Space exploration will eventually allow us to establish human civilization on another world. And if you're a fatalist, that's in support of the catastrophic failure of Earth. We explore space and create important new technologies to advance our economy. So it is true, for every dollar we spend on the space program, the U.S. economy receives $8 of economic benefit. Space exploration can also serve as a stimulus for children to enter the fields of science and engineering. Look at the current education program based around the space shuttle and the space station. 3. Space exploration in international context offers a peaceful cooperative venture that is a valuable alternative to nation-state hostilities. 4. National prestige requires that the U.S. continue to be a leader in space, and that this includes human exploration. History tells us that great civilizations do not abandon exploration. And the 5th reason proposed by James Van Allen: exploration of space will provide humanity with the answer to the most fundamental question. Are we alone? Are there other forms of life besides those on Earth? These 5 questions have been throughout the space program. But more importantly, it was in bullet number 3. If there is truly an 8-to-1 return on the investment for every dollar spent on the space program, why would we not continue to invest in the space program? That's the point of my question. Has the last astronaut already been hired by NASA, or has he yet to be born? On February 1st, 2010, President Obama announced his proposal to cancel the Constellation program, which is the successor program to the Space Shuttle. In the fiscal year 2011 budget, this year's budget, he unfunded the Constellation program. On April 15th at the Kennedy Space Center, he announced his proposal for the new national space policy, where he committed to increasing NASA funding by $6 billion over 5 years and completing the design of a new heavy lift launch vehicle by 2015, with the goals of going to Mars and an asteroid mission by 2025. How can you admit or commit to funding when at the same time you've canceled the budget? The vision of the president is to privatize space launch, that the design and integration of the new space capsule and of the new rocket will be handled by private industry, both as the lead design agency and as the lead integrator. By analogy, if we look at the U.S. shipbuilding program, we did the same thing. Naval Sea Systems Command abrogated its responsibility for lead design agent and lead integrator to private industry, resulting in successive failures in ships in things that, had the government maintained its role, we would have seen. So in summary, the original goal and intent of this manned space program was to establish the greatness of the United States, to send a clear message to the world. Why go to the moon or Mars? Fulfill man's never-ending quest to explore the unknown. The secondary benefits of spaceflight: innumerable technologies have translated into our lives to make life better and increase our quality of life. My fear is NASA has hired the last astronaut, and the failure of private industry to fill the void created by the cancellation of the Constellation program will result in us losing manned spaceflight forever. Thank you.